Okay, Vav Laman Aleph, third line. I think relatively easy Gemara today. Tan Rabbanan, Avei Tishtit. Talking about the Lashonos, which kind of terms would be a way of saying you are hereby married to me? So we had Shmuel said Lashonos before. Here's a brisa. Tan Rabbanan, Avei Tishtit. You are hereby my wife. Just the point is to say also there's an interesting thing that just to say you are my wife. He's just making a declaration. It's not true. She's not his wife. He's making it. You are hereby my wife. So that we had to get the notes that says that that's the way to say it. When you say I raise a hektish, also you're not just saying it is hektish. You have to make it hektish. So all these I read mukadeshasly. You are hereby mukadeshasly. You are hereby betrothed. So these lashonos are considered good terms of marrying her. So he gives her the shavaput aret mukadeshas, areyat avusasi, areyat kenuyali. As we said before, the Gemara says you have to say li, maybe ishti. Yeah, I guess arusasi. Here you have it. You are my wife. You are hereby my wife. You are hereby my arusa. You are hereby acquired to me. So we said that kanuya also is a lesson of kiddushin, like it says in the beginning. Ishaniknes. That even though the pasuk says the word kiikach ishisha, but the Gemara says that we find that kicha is called the kinyan, like it says by Yesodeh. So all these terms are good languages of marriage. Under the chuppah, instead of saying Aret Mukudeshesli, he's going to say Areat Tishti. It's also a good term, a good formula. Areat Shali, Areat Mirushusi, Areat Zekukali, also Mukudeshes. Another three terms that are also good. Areat Shali, you are mine. Again, we said mine doesn't mean that I own you, but it means that you are mine as far as marriage goes. And that's to point out that one doesn't bring it down. But here's a pasuk in Yecheskel where it talks about the story where the man found the mashal, where the man found a baby girl that was just born, and he took her, he raised her, and then he married her. Then we mentioned it in the Agadah Shal Pesach where it says possesses with the Moyach, with the Mayachayi. This whole story in Yecheskel over there, very, very beautiful. Over there, the end of the story was that she was Masana, but you also say in Rosh Hashanah that because there's a bris, that Hashem made a covenant with us, and he's always loyal to us, even if we were unloyal, disloyal. But anyway, over there it says it's a mashal over there, but the nimshal is Am Yisrael. Sorry. She was Zana. She was Zana. That's the story over there that he found the girl, he raised her, and Mom Shakir to her married her, gave her everything. That's Am Yisrael. That was a mashal of Am Yisrael. That's not the beautiful part. The end of the story is that that the husband says, "I'm still taking you because we made a covenant." And that's what we say in Rosh Hashanah by the Zachati Lach Bris Nurayich Chesed. No, Bris, no, not that one. The Bris. I just open it up already since we're here. So it's in the Cheskel. Very what? That's beautiful. Yeah. It'll take a long time, but just Hashem says, "I'll take you back anyway." At the end of the whole thing, this is that pasuk we use in Rosh Hashanah for this bonus. That when he married her, he made a bris with her. Like it says earlier, it says, it's a very long parak. It's about 63 psukim. Very big, very long story, but it's good to learn, especially before Rosh Hashanah. Then it says that because I made a bris with you, and this is 16, parak 16, Yecheskel 16. And Hashem says, I'm going to take you back because even though you sinned. But anyway, over there it does say, that's when the reason I brought it down, it says over there, Pasuk 16, Pasuk 8. Over there it says, I made a bris with you, you came to be mine. So this word of Arei Achali, I think is based on the Pasuk in Yecheskel, that it's also a term of marriage. Arei Atushisi, you're on my domain. Arei Zekukali, you are connected to me, you're bonded to me. Usually we use the word Zika by Yibum. Here it's not. Here's regular marriage. That's also a term about which we can marry. Ukudeshes. So it says 6 terms. It says, you are my wife, you are my arusa, you are acquired to me, you are mine, you are in my domain, you are connected to me. All these are good terms of kiddushin. But the Bryce is divided into 2 groups of 3. It says 1, 2, 3, ukudeshes. 4, 5, 6, ukudeshes. Why doesn't it just say all 6 and say at the end of it ukudeshes? That's the more discussion now. For the sninu kulu b'kechada, why doesn't it say it all together, all 6? Why does it say 2 groups of 3? The answer is you're right, very technical. Tana tlas shaminu b'garsina. That's the way he heard it. He probably heard it from two different rabbanim, two different times. So he heard this memra and he heard this memra. So he said it over the way he heard it. Then it's really 6. But he heard it in two groups of 3. That's the way he taught it, the way he heard it. Okay, so we have these 6 terms that are all considered good kiddushin. They're more conscious about different terms. So there's going to be many questions over here, many terms that might sound like kiddushin, maybe not. And the main question I think would be, what does the Gemara mean? Is it to make a difference if it's in the Torah called kiddushin, or do you care how people talk? If you use a term that people know what you mean, in English we say marriage, betrothal, whatever you're going to say, is that enough? Do you have to have something it says in the Torah? And if it says a word in the Torah that people don't use for marriage, is that going to be good enough? If people don't use the word, there's a certain word, we'll see many examples. Is it used by people or not? So this question is bothering me, I'm not sure. The Gemara is going to ask many questions, and the answer to most of them is going to be teku. We don't know, are these considered good terms of marriage? First one, what does the word miyuchedas mean? Today they use the word miyuchad to mean like unique or special. And the Gemara talks about also that sometimes it means designated. That's the way the Mishnah uses the term. But here Rashi says interesting thing that it comes from the Torah. That husband and a wife, they become united. So you are united to me. You're united to me based on the pasuk of echad. Is that considered a good lashon of kedushin? You find by a amavriya when someone buys a Jewish maidservant, so then he has the option of marrying her. That pasuk calls asher lo ya'odah be'evda. It talks about yiyud. We translate the word yiyud as designation. That's how we use it in Hebrew nowadays. The question is if it actually means that, but the Torah does use the word of yiyud as far as marrying. When someone buys a Jewish maidservant, a regular Jewish girl that was sold by her father as a maidservant, he's selling her not only to be a maidservant, but eventually the master will be able to take her as a wife. So that's yiyud. Yes, but we're talking about that if he doesn't want to take it, if she doesn't want to take her as a wife, that she was supposed to be married. He doesn't want to take her. He doesn't want to take her as a wife that she was, designated to be married to. Then it says, if he wants to give it to her, he also has option of marrying his son. If they don't, so then she goes to. There are many mahus over here. There are many mahus. Why is it a good lashon kedushin? Here it's not talking about Amavriya, a Jewish maidservant. Here it's talking about a regular woman, and he says, "Didn't use the word mekudeshes, he used the word miyu edes." Is that also a term of marriage? Like you find the Torah uses it. It's fine as far as a Jewish maidservant. Maybe a Jewish maidservant is a regular Jewish girl. So the Torah does use that term for marriage, so maybe it's also a good term. How about Ezrasi Mahu? Areat Ezrati. You are hereby my helper. The Torah calls a wife helper Ezer Kenegdo. We also have Ozeret. You also have, you're going to be my Ozeret. So that's not what he meant to say, not my helper. He meant to say you're my wife. That's the question. Is it considered a good lashon of marriage? Negdasi Mahu. That's the same thing. Ezer Kenegdo. So are you going to, I want you to be my Kenegdo, my Ezer Kenegdo. Atsurasi Mahu. Here's the question what Atsurasi means. So do you find any place that the word Atsura is referring ayin tzadi vav reish? Is that's the question. To stop means to stop. What does that have to do? What does that mean? So it doesn't sound so good. So where do you find such a lashon? So we have the word atzeres. So Rashi prefers to learn that the Gemara is not based on a pasuk dafka about marriage. There's a word atzeres which means to be gathered, like you make an atzeres, you make an asifa, you make a gathering. Atzeres tefillah. So you're going to be gathered with me. It means to be together with me in the house. We'll be married together in the same house. That's how Rashi prefers to learn the Gemara. He does bring that from his Rebbeim that he doesn't like the pshat, but he says that Rabosai say that in Shmuel it talks about when David was running away. So he came to Achimelech and he needed bread. He needed food. He was running away from Shaul, and people didn't know that he was running away. And issue over there was to take the lechem upon him. It seems like to take lechem upon him, to give him lechem upon him. So Achimelech said, "I can't give it to you only if you're tohor, only if you're pure." So David HaMelech said that even my soldiers, he didn't really have any soldiers, but he said, "My soldiers." Achimelech said, "Where are your men? Where are your soldiers?" So he said, "They're not around. They're stationed someplace." And he said that they're atzura lanu. they are Atzura Lanu. So the Pashut means that we have not been together with them, that we were separated from them. So it's no problem. We're not Tameh. We didn't have relations, so we could eat of this bread. So that's what Rashi says. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's what Rashi saying, that he doesn't like the pshat.
Camera, please, baby. Camera, please.
Thank you. Thank you. That he didn't want to say. Rashi doesn't want to learn that Sirbosi means my wife, based on the pasuk of Ishat Surul Lana, because over there it's the negative, that we were separated. We did not have relations. So that's not a way to say a wife. So he doesn't like that pshat. Just to point out, Tosfos brings down, and the Radak in the Chum in the Navi says that it means that the women who were together with us, that was only small still shown, that was only beforehand, but now we haven't been together with them. So there is a possibility to learn that Atzura is referring to the pasuk over there, and it's a way of saying that the husband and wife are together. That's maybe called that they're Atzura. They're the same way Asifa. Rashi says it means gathered, but Tosfos would rather put it into a pasuk, not that it's just a word from Atzeres that has nothing to do with marriage. All the other psukim so far, Miyuchedes, Miyuedes, Ezrasi, Negdasi, everything is psukim. So Tosfos would prefer that this also is referring to the pasuk, and even though Rashi learned the pasuk over there means that our women have been separated from us, there's another pshat over there that learns that the women that were together with us, that only was yesterday, that wasn't anymore. So there's a possibility to say that the word Atzura is talking about the pasuk refers to the relationship of husband and a wife, and that's what the Gemara's question is that also a good lashon kiddushin or not? The next question, Salasi Mahu, that we know by Yivadas Atzela, that Hashem took a bone rib from Adam and made Chava out of that. So maybe he refers to the wife as a tzela. Sadi Lamed Ayim. Okay, whatever the word tzela means, it means a side or it means a bone. Sigurasi Mahu, Tachtai Mahu. That's all based on the pasuk by Yizgor Basar Tachtena. But there it says that after Hashem took the side or the bone from Adam and Rishon, so it says by Yizgor Basar Tachtena, which the Pashup Shat and Mepharshim learned that Hashem healed the wound wherever the incision was, wherever Hashem had made cut open in order to take out the tzela, to make Chava out of him. So Hashem closed up the wound by Yizgo Basar Tachtena. That's it, and that's what the Gemara is asking. Skurasi maybe is called the lashon of a marriage. Tachtai is called the lashon of marriage, which is a little difficult because it isn't talking about the bone. So why is that referring to the wife? The fact that the other mission had to have a healing of the wound, is that a reason why the wife should be called that? So it needs explanation. Maybe the other pshatim in the pasuk over there by his Basar Tachtena, but based on those psukim, the Gemara is asking, is that also a lashon of marriage? Tfusasi Ma'u. It has with a shin, but it's pronounced with a sin. Tfusasi, and that is a little difficult to me also because we find that a woman is called Tfusasi. Usually, it's talking about by rape when it's not his wife, and talks about when Venus Pasa, Vilonis Pasa, or it says Ki Isposish, that Kikach Isha, Ki Matzei Ish, whatever, it means to grab, it means to seize. So why would a wife be called seized? That's only something a lesson of force and rape. The word means to hold on to. Tfusasi means to hold on to. So if it's based on a pasuk, I don't see where the pasuk ever calls a wife that he grabs onto her. It is called about by onus, and Mafata over there talks by onus, talks about tfusa. But the Gemara is asking, maybe that's also considered a lashon of marriage, the one that he seizes, that he holds on to. And the last question, l'kuchasi mahu, the one that I have taken, l'kuchasi, my taken one. So how many questions do we have? Yuchedes, Miyuedes, Ezrasi, Negdasi, Atzurasi, Tzalasi, Skurasi, Tachtai, Tfusasi, l'kuchasi. 10 questions. 10 questions of all these terms, are they considered the terms of marriage? Hareyat Miyuchedesli, Hareyat Miyuedesli. Are all these considered, any of these considered the shonos of marriage or not? Yesterday, Rav said that if someone's going to say under the chuppah, anyone, they're going to throw him out. The Masana Kedusha is not going to go for it. Only these standard, Avet Mekudeshesli. But these, halachically, the Gemara wants to know if they're good or not. The Gemara said 6 are good. Top of the page, the Gemara said, Avet Ishti, Avet Rusasi, Avet. All those are good. But the Gemara has 10 questions though. The Gemara says, I don't know, but 1 out of 10 I could answer. Shot miyachada. I could bring an answer to at least one of the 10 questions. The Tanya, Omer, the Kuchasi, Areza Mukudashes, Mishum Shenama, Kikach Yeshisha. This Lachar should be the best because the Torah is, how is the Torah called marriage? Kikach Yeshisha. The Mishnah, the beginning of the Masechta, the Gemara learned out that it's called Kinyan also, and we call it Kiddushin, the Mishnah Jarabana. But the Torah word, Referish, is only Kicha. And that the Gemara says that's good. If someone says you are my taken one, so she's married, it's a good marriage because the pasuk says I'm a little bothered still. I still don't know. Is it good enough because the Torah calls it that, or it has to be that's how people talk? If people don't talk that way, so even if the Torah talks that way, al is still a kasha. But the Gemara says that it's good, and it brings down the pasuk. So we asked 10 questions, and we said one of them is good, and the rest of them we don't know. The Gemara has more questions. So charufa, where do you find the word charufa? It's a very unique word. You find it only by shivcha charufa. Asham shivcha charufa. There's a shivcha knanis. There's a question in the Tanam if it means it's a shivcha knanis or shivcha chatzi baschorin. But it means if a man has relations with a woman who is married to an ebed, l'chora. That's the case of a shivcha knanis. Who's a shivcha knanis going to be married? Shivcha knanis not allowed to marry a Jew. It's possible just to put the bottle down. So it can't be a Jewish man if it's a shivcha kananis because the shivcha kananis can marry a Jewish man. So the first shot the pasuk, well, at least one shot is that there's a shivcha kananis who is married, quotation, not a real marriage because Eved and the shivcha don't have marriage, but she's mu'eda, she's designated to this husband, and if a Yisrael is going to have relations with her, he's chayav to bring a asham shivcha charufa. There are other pshatim over there also that maybe it's a chatzi baschorin, and maybe she's married to a Eved Ivri. I take it back before also. Maybe the shivcha kananis was miyuched to an Eved Ivri. I said Eved Kanani. Take it back. Maybe Eved Ivri over there. Eved Ivri is allowed to be married to a shivcha kananis. Anyway, the pasuk over there uses the term charufa. He shivcha necharefes leish. When it wants to say something about her being married to a man, Eved Ivri, so it calls the word charufa. So maybe when a person is going to say to a woman, maybe it's also a term of marriage, even though over there it's not talking about a real marriage, it's talking about a shivcha dafka, which maybe is not real. Kiddushin is not tofas. But the word wants to know, is that considered a good lashon of marriage? Tashma, so we're going to bring it right to this question. Titania, ha'omer charufasi mekudeshes. Yes, it says it is good. Charufasi is a lashon of marriage, and even though we didn't know the answer to 9 out of 10 questions, but we know Chasi is good, and now we're saying Charufasi is also good. Shekain be Yehuda Koran Larusa Charufa. Here it says, you know why it's good? Because that's a minig in Yehuda. And Yehuda means the south of Eretz Yisrael. That's the southern half from Yerushalayim and down. That's called Yehuda, and that's how they call an Arusa. They call an Arusa Charufa. So if that's what they call it, it's good. The Gemara here so far doesn't say anything about a pasuk. It just says that's good because that's how they call it. I would imagine also in any language, if you call betrothed, whatever, so it's good. You don't have to. The chassan doesn't know how to speak Hebrew, so the chayy should tell him to speak English. If
you want to be my wife, no?
You are hereby my wife, like it says Arayat Ishti. Translation in English: you are hereby my wife, or you are hereby my betrothed.
That's right.
But if a bride means, you have to know what a bride means. If a bride just means before the chassan, then it's no good. That means only engaged. You have to use a word bride. If it means after marriage, then it's good. But okay, that'll be a question. But here, no. So so here, so far, it says that it's good because that's the minig in Yehuda. And Yehuda doesn't use the word. It doesn't say because it says in the Torah. It says because that's what they do. That's the term that they use in Yehuda. So the Gemara says Yehuda have Yehuda the Alma. Is the whole world? Are you going to say that the word charufa means marriage because in Yehuda that's the way they talk? It's not enough to make the whole world should become that terminology. In only one place that's how they talk. So the Gemara says you're right. The Brisa, the way it says it doesn't make sense. It can't be that since in Yehuda that's how they talk. So the whole world is going to have that terminology for marriage. So here it does bring a pasuk. I started the pasuk without the Gemara, but now the Gemara says there's a pasuk. Shenema by Yeshivcha nechrefes. So you see that the word nechrefes is referring to marriage. Va'od Yehuda Koran Larusa Charufa. So we put in the va'od. In the Brisa doesn't say that. The Brisa does said because the Sheken Yehuda Koran Larusa Charufa. But the Gemara said that wouldn't be enough of a reason. So the Gemara puts in 2 reasons. There's a pasuk, and that's the real reason. Va'od Yehuda Koran Larusa Charufa. That the fact that they do talk that way, that's also a reason that it should be marriage. Now, really, the answer didn't help too much because the kasha was the fact that people talk that way isn't the reason. The reason is only going to be because the Torah says so. So the fact that Yehuda talks that way is still not a reason. So why does it say va'od? What did the Gemara gain by saying not only Yehuda, it says the pasuk says so, and also in Yehuda, that's the way they talk. Is Yehuda talking that way enough reason why it should be the terminology you know the whole world? No. So the pasuk is a pasuk enough. I don't know. The Gemara sounds here that the pasuk is enough. So then you don't have to have the reason of Yehuda. So the Gemara wanted to lighten the kasha by saying that the real reason is because of the pasuk. That's the reason why it's considered a good lashon. And you should know also in Yehuda that's how they talk. But the Gemara still doesn't like it. Yehuda Ba'od Likra. That's the expression. Sometimes it becomes in poetic writing, Yehuda Ba'od Likra. And you want to say that you have a good basis, and then you have something which is not a good source. So you say Yehuda Va'od Likra is a pasuk, and then you say Va'od in Yehuda also. That doesn't help anything. If you have a pasuk, like you're going to say that it's a pasuk in the Torah, and also the Rav around the corner says so. Like, come on, the Torah says so. That's enough. That's not the way you talk. So you're going to say that it says in the pasuk, and also in Yehuda that's the minhag. And I'm just asking it aside and a footnote that does Yehuda make any difference at all? I mean, is the pasuk enough reason that it should be a good term, even if people don't talk that way? If it is, then there's no difference. It's not Ma'alamorid at all if Yehuda does it or does it. Maybe that's what the Gemara is asking, that Yehuda doesn't make a difference. So the Gemara now, where are you? Where are you? That's about 3 lines earlier. The Gemara is asking, Yehuda is the robe of the world. That just because they do something, so the whole world is going to get the way they talk. No one else talks that way. Only Yehuda does. Is Yehuda a robe of the world? So the Gemara answered, there's a pasuk that it says, and also in Yehuda they talk that way. But the Gemara is still unhappy because once you have a pasuk, you don't need Yehuda. Yehuda Vod Likra. Is Yehuda considered of an ode to the pasuk? Means you said a pasuk and then you say ode. Yehuda, that's how they do it. Yehuda, you're going to say Yehuda as of an ode to the pasuk. The pasuk said it. If the pasuk is good enough, so you don't need it. Yehuda doesn't make any difference. It's not a question of holding it a pasuk. It means that people don't talk like the pasuk. That's what I introduced the whole Gemara, that I don't know if the pasuk saying the word is enough. People don't talk that way. It doesn't make a difference what the pasuk says if people don't talk that way. Here's my okay. So why doesn't the Gemara just answer? That's the reason. Why doesn't it say that's the reason why it's good?
Why make the pasuk?
We're going 2 different directions here. If the pasuk maybe is enough. If the pasuk says that, so that's considered a term for marriage. And if even if people don't talk that way, the pasuk talks that way. So that's how people mean. If that would be true, so then all you need is a pasuk, and it doesn't make a difference how people talk. And the Gemara's kasha is going to be, don't bring Yehuda at all. The Gemara is just asking. It seems like when you bring Yehuda as a ode to the pasuk, it sounds like once you have the pasuk, you don't need more. But there's much that it would be something more. There would be some value to how people talk, even if it would not be a pasuk. But once you have a pasuk, there's no value in what the people talk. After everything's they were holding by kasha, that it wouldn't make sense. The Brisa should say a pasuk, and also that's how you do in Yehuda. Okay, back to the way the Brisa originally said. A roof, but it changes one point. We put in the pasuk, we took the pasuk out again. So now it seems that the pasuk is not going to be enough reason to be called it a marriage. Maybe because it's only called a marriage for a shifcha, not for a regular baschorin. So the Gemara takes out the pasuk, no pasuk. So what did the Brisa say? Put in the word Yehuda. In the whole world, if someone says it's not a good marriage, because in America they don't say it, or even in the Galil and Yarden, they don't use the word charufa for a wife. But if in Yehuda,
and then it's not.
Maybe that the reason why the Torah's pasuk is not enough is because it's not talking about marriage. All the psukim before that the Gemara brought about Yuchedes and Yuedes and as Rasi, why doesn't the Gemara talk over there as a pasuk? So forget about what's the question? The pasuk calls that. Maybe you could talk about that also. That's only the creation of the first woman. Maybe it's not going to be marriage in the future. Maybe, I don't know. The Gemara's had 9 questions. This one, the Gemara says, Harufa, the Gemara does not talk about the pasuk. And in the whole world, it's not a good lashon, or we don't know, because they don't talk that way. But in Yehuda, it is good. Harufa be Yehuda Mukadesh, she can be the Karan Arusa Harufa. So we went through many terms. We had 6 that are good. We had 9 questions. We have another one that's good. And Charufa and Yehuda is good. Okay, so that's all about the terminology. And as Rabbi Bram said, no one should be smart. They should do it like everybody else does. And the Kedushin will be happy. If not, it's going to make problems. But the halacha technically is that there are other terms also. As long as it's clear that he's marrying her, it would be a good Kiddushin. The Maya Skinan. What is the whole Gemara talking about? The whole issue we're talking about terminologies for marriage. What are we talking about? The Gemara is going to bring up a case that if we know what they mean to do, even if he doesn't say anything, it's good. Elaim b'shem medabrim alis kegite v'kiddusha meno yadamai kamala. Ve'ela b'medabrim alis kegite v'kiddusha afagav the law malo nami. The Gemara talks about a new issue. What have they been doing until now? Means the chassan, the kala, they're sitting around, or the man and the woman. What were they talking about? If they were talking about, they weren't talking about marriage, and he just gives her a fruta or a ring, and he says hareyat something, and she doesn't know what he means. Even if we're going to say in the Torah it's called marriage, but she doesn't know what he's referring to, so it doesn't make a difference. She didn't accept it. It means you also have to have it's a two-way deal. It has to be that the woman accepts the marriage also. Under the chuppah, we don't say that she has to say hein. She doesn't have to say yes, but she puts out her finger. She accepts the ring. It wasn't that he just threw it at her. She has to accept it. So you have to have an acceptance of the. So if she doesn't know what's happening, he's just giving her a present. He doesn't know. She doesn't know that it's marriage. So what's the difference if the term technically in the Beis Medrash we're going to say that this term is a term of marriage? If they're not talking about marriage and she doesn't know what he's referring to, so it's really not going to be a marriage because she didn't accept. She didn't agree. Ella, what are you going to say? They were talking about marriage. It means they were discussing it and whatever. They what the Gemara talks. They were talking about kiddushin. That was the thing. They were talking as a chassan kala that they want to get married. And then he gave her and he said, "Right." Then the Gemara's going to ask. Then you don't even need any talk, even if they wouldn't have talked at all. He didn't say anything. He just gave it to her, and it's understood that he was doing it for marriage. It's also good enough. So when do we have to talk about the terminology if it's a good term to mean marriage or not? Manavshach. If they're talking about marriage, he doesn't have to say anything. And if they're not talking about marriage, these lashonos are not going to help because we're not sure that she understands what he's talking about. So that's to do it inside. But my skin on, if it's talking about that, he was not talking to her about the issue. If it's a get or kiddushin, they were talking about kiddushin. So if he wasn't talking about kiddushin, then how does she know what he's talking about? And even if the Torah is going to say such a terminology, the Rabbanu will say it's a good term, but she doesn't know what he means. If you're going to say that he hasn't been talking to her about the issues of her marriage, or get or marriage, his marriage. So then how does she know what he told her? From where? How does she know what he said? Well, must be talking about that they were talking about marriage. So then he doesn't have to say anything. Even if it is anything also as a marriage, because from the circumstances, she understands that he's giving it to her for marriage. We understand, he understands, so it's a good marriage, even if it doesn't say anything. Now it's not so simple, but that's how he's asking. The Mishnah and Ma'aseh Sheni, Mamish, these words that the Gemara was quoting. If he was talking to a woman or his wife about the issue of kiddushin and gittin, and he gave her the get of a kiddushin, and he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. He didn't say raise a gittin. He didn't explain. He didn't specify what he's doing. He just gave it to her. They were talking about getting married, and he gave her the ring without saying anything. Under the chuppah, the chazan didn't say Ayat Mikudeshesli. He just gave her the ring. And the chazan said he didn't say Ayat Mikudeshesli. Here it says that it's okay. It says Rav Yossi Yomadayo, right? Rav says that's good enough. Rav Yossi, Rav Yudah says not. Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi says it's enough. Even if he didn't say anything, it's okay. Rav Yudah Omer Tzarech Lefarish. He has to say it. Rav Yudah says no. Rav Yudah says he has to say. So it's a machlokes. If you want to say Rav Yehuda, then it would have been good that you have to have the right term, that's marriage, because Rav Yehuda says even if it's obvious that that's what he means to do, he has to say marriage. So according to Rav Yehuda, the Gemara would make sense. But you know, pass like Rav Yehuda, so the Gemara would prefer that all the rights that we talked about till now about terminology of marriage should be relevant to Rav Yossi also, and that's the kasha. If they're talking about marriage, they don't need it. If you're not talking about marriage, it doesn't help because she doesn't know what he means to say. That's the Morris kasha. Yes. So that's the kasha. That's the kasha because then that's the kasha. If you have like Rav Yossi, then it doesn't make a difference what he said. The Morris is asking that even if he didn't say anything, it also will be good enough. So how can we add 15 points about what's the terminology? What's the difference what the terminology is?
If he's talking already, he's got talking.
Oh, that's means if he didn't say anything, it's good. But if he said something and he said something which does not mean marriage, so then that messes it up. That's the Gemara's answer. Amri, they said, who's they? I'm David. The case is talking about that they were talking about marriage, and therefore she knew what he's talking about. But the kasha was, don't say anything. Video of love if he would have been given it to her and not said anything, you're right. We pass him like Rabbi, you'll see that he doesn't have to say anything. The word Achamayaskinan is a bit not in place because it's not Achamayaskinan. The case is that he said something. He said these words. You add this, all kinds of things. What is that? I'm sorry? Right, but it's not Achamayaskinan. Achamayaskinan, the Yavla of Amala. He is talking about that he gave her, and he's saying that he is talking about these all our questions. I've been talking about it, but it's not a Kimta. It's not saying I'll give you a case. That's the case. We're talking about all these cases. These cases that he gave her, and he said, he said in these terms, that's why they have a question about it. These terms mean marriage. Maybe it means for other purposes, you're my helper as Rasi, and I don't know what the other ones, Tachtai and Skurasi and Sali. So all these things, maybe they mean other things. Maybe it meant something else. It meant something else. So he messed it up. Right, but all of a sudden he decided you'll be a good Ozeret. You'll be a good cleaning woman. You'll cook for me. So that. No, on the other hand, he said he's a Kinegdi. It could have been very romantic, very poetic. Salasi. It could have been very romantic. So that's the question. So thank you. The Gemara leaves a question on all the ones that we left the question, which were 9 questions. Harufasi, we said also we don't know only Yehuda and Yehuda for sure is good. Yehuda is good. And what else? Yeah, we have the Kuchasi is good. And we have another 6 terms also. Ishti, Arusasi. Those are all good. Okay. Good. New sugya, we're back to the sugya before. One of them. That was of the 10 questions. Before that, we started the day today. Top of the page, third line. Tana Rabbanan. What did it say? Ishti, Rabusasi, Kinuyali, Shali, Reshusi, Zikukali. All those are good. 6 are good. Lukuchasi is also good. And then 9 questions. And Charufasi is also seems to be only Yehudas are good. And all has to be talking about that she knows what he means. That else is so you have a question because she didn't mean to accept kiddushin if she doesn't know what he's talking about. But if you messed it up, if the words are not mashma kiddushin, then it's not good. That will be a suffer kiddushin. Kufa, back to that Mishnah in Ma'aser Sheni. Has it come to Ma'aser Sheni? It should be in kiddushin or Gittin this Mishnah about he has to say. But over there it's talking about when someone's mafish Ma'aser Sheni, does he have to say I raise a Ma'aser Sheni, or he could make that first without saying anything? Kufa, Isha Aliski Gita Vikidusha, but also Gita Vikidusha. Although Pirish, he didn't Yosi Amadayo, or Gita Omer Self Parish, word for word. That's the mission we had a couple of lines ago. It brings it down again, and we're going to analyze it a little bit. Amar Avida Mashmuel, Bahusha Sukin Baosa Indian. That they have to still be talking about the same subject. Means even though they were Medaber, they were talking about it. But then there was Afsaka, they started talking about something else. She says, no good. It has to be that the mamash talking about it when he gave her the money, when he gave her the ring or the get. It has to be that they were still talking about what the issue about Gittin and Kiddushin, the Kiddushin, let's say. So that's a clause in the Mishnah, but it says Medabrim can't have any Afsaka. It has to be that they talked and right away gave it to them. No problem. We're talking about Medabrim Malas Gittin and Kiddushin, but that's what the Mishnah says. Example of what? But it's not right. The Mishnah says Shmuel adds on that it still has to be talking about it. That it still has to be talking about it. But that whatever the Mishnah says they were talking about, they have to have been talking about it until he gave her the money. If they had an interruption, then it doesn't show that he gave it to her for that reason that they were talking before. The same thing. So Shmuel and Abulazar both and Rashaya said that it has to be there was no afsaka between the talking and the giving. Rashaya, right? But then the Gemara says Ketanoid. That's not so simple. That some hold not like that. Some hold that they could have been interrupted. It seems. Rabbi Yom Ravusha Sukin Bosinyan. Mamish word for word. Shmuel and Rashaya said. Rabbi also says the same thing. They have to still be engaged in talking what they were talking about. They don't have to be still talking about that. The Pashup Shak with me that there was afsaka, there was interruption, and it's still good enough because they talked about it 10 minutes ago. But that the Gemara doesn't accept. If they made some interruption, even though I spoke about it, but then they interrupted, so then he gives her a ring or a dollar, whatever it might be. So she doesn't know what he meant to say. The Gemara doesn't think it can't be. It can't be that Rabbi Elazar Rav Shimon meant to say that even if there was a hafsakah, there was interruption, that is still good enough because they spoke about it before. That truly can't be. So how does he know what he means? What he means to what he meant to say? Indian also Indian. This is a famous term nowadays. Indian also Indian. That they were talking about related topics. That everybody holds it can't be hafsakah mamash. If there was mamash hafsakah, they started talking about business, something else. Then he gave her pruta. It doesn't mean that she understood that it's for marriage. It has to be enough that she still knows that it's connected to the story before. So therefore, they have to be talking about at least related topics. One subject to the other subject, but still in the same subject. Right, that's probably called good enough that it's considered still about the same subject. When they start talking about politics, then he gives her a dollar. It doesn't mean. Okay. Such kind of examples would be that they're still talking about the subject and related topics. That's good enough. And it's not going to be considered afsakah. It was mashma a little bit that the point is that she has to here. The point is that she has to at least know what he means what he means. It can't be such afsakah that she lost the subject. We stopped talking about that subject already. So now they're going to get married. But then they talk about politics, and then he gives her a shabbat fruta. She doesn't put it together. Maybe he wants to buy a newspaper now. Why not? It has to be enough that she still knows what he means. So that's machlokes. And Amoron, that's machlokes Tanoi. That was Rebbe and Rav Elazar Rav Shimon. And we had before the Shmuel and the Boshai, Amoron, they passed him like Rebbe, that it has to be a Sukkot Bosa Indian. It's not enough Indian Bosa Indian. It has to be Bosa Indian. That is, while they were talking about getting married, he gave her the ring, then it's good without saying anything. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Shmuel, Allah Rav Yossi. That's what we have reported that before, in the Sukkot before. We passed like Rav Yossi, that even if he didn't say anything, one to have you that after he said, who should perish. We passed like Rav Yossi, that he doesn't have to say anything. Amalei Rav Yemel Rav Ashi. Ve'alahad Amar Rav Yudah Amar Shmuel. Kol she'en yodeh b'tiv gitenu kiddushin, lo yehelo esek imahim. That's a memory that Shmuel said. Also Shmuel said someone that doesn't know the issues of gittin and kiddushin. Tiv means the goodness. What does it mean, the goodness?
No, that's what it is. Oh, wow.
The tiv. Any there, the tiv gittin, I don't think so.
No.
I don't know. What time did they translate? He doesn't know the issues of gittin and kiddushin. What is good, what is not good. The word, the tiv, kol she'en yodeh b'tiv, I don't think so. But anyway, think so? So someone who doesn't know well the halachas of gittin and kiddushin should not have anything to do with them. Means don't be a Masada kiddushin. I don't know if it's a literal translation, because it's not going on him. It's going on the tiv gittin. It's going on the tiv kiddushin. He doesn't know.
No, I'm just.
Yeah,
That's how it's
no, the idea for sure. The idea for sure is right. The question was just translation. That it's not going on him knowing well. It's going on that he knows the tiv gittin. He knows the tiv kiddushin. He knows.
I didn't know what's going on.
I think bit tiv.
Big tiv.
Anybody have a hot scroll over here? Anybody have something with the word of Torah? Something about if you understand music, you understand the tiv music and the goodness. Something to do with the goodness part. But I don't have a good English word for the way I understand it. But the point is that someone should not have anything to do with gittin and kiddushin if he doesn't know the halach as well. Someone should not be a Masada kiddushin if he doesn't know the halach as well. He shouldn't be a Masada gittin if he doesn't know the halach as well. So we understand it makes sense, right? Because he might make a mistake. But about the kiddushin, that's not right.
He doesn't translate.
How does he translate in the text?
Literally, anyone who does not know the nature of divorce document.
Okay.
Or else one who is not an expert in laws of divorce and issue, not just for the.
Yeah, I got a question. What about the Diane who don't know how to find the name?
How can it be that they know the laws well and they don't know how to sign them in?
That's why I don't get. You know, signing names. Like I don't know music, I know how to read the notes.
I'm not sometimes.
Yeah, that in Gittim. We had that in Maseches Gittim. We had such a case over there. The more even had a Sanhedrin that they don't know how to sign their name. That was the more like, how could I have been? Okay. Okay. Anyway, what's the Gemara want to this? There's such a halacha that a person should not have anything to do with giving kiddushin if he doesn't know the laws well, the nature, the good, whatever. I feel so. Does he have to know this law also? I feel does that also include that he has to know this halacha also? That if someone was talking about gittin and kiddushin and he didn't say I raise a kudash, he just gave the money, or he didn't say I raise a gittin, he just gave the get. Does he have to know this law also? Why is the Gemara so surprised about this law? Is this law also necessary? Is also going to be on the test. This question also. The quotation of Shmuel, Rav Yehuda Shmuel was till the word imayim, lo yelo esek imayim. And now we ask, does he have to know this halacha also? That halacha is like if he gets this one wrong in the test, does he fail? Is it so important to know this one? Why is something special about it? What's unique about this halacha?
What's the specific halacha we're talking about?
That if someone gave kiddushin kiddushin, he didn't say anything. As long as the osek bosa Indian is good enough. This says what you said that lo shchicha, the last line. Maybe you don't have to know because lo shchicha kol hayar. Maybe it doesn't happen too often. What's going to be the problem if he doesn't know the law? It could be, I don't know who's asking him exactly. It's going to be that they were talking about giving kiddushin. They gave her the pruta, and they think that it's nothing. They think that it's not. No, you have to know that it's something. You have to know that she's married. Don't make a mistake and think that they can separate. If they want to stay married, because they stay married. But the problem is that he gave her the kiddushin without saying anything, and they think that's not really kiddushin, and then they're going to decide to separate. Then she's a married woman. So do you have to know that law that she's considered married? Or about again? Yes. Right. Yes. But he thinks that since he didn't say so maybe it's not considered a marriage. He doesn't know this halacha, like Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, that's Serach Lefarish. Rabbi Yehuda would say it's not a marriage. If it's like Rabbi Yossi, it is a marriage. And Shmuel says halacha like Rabbi Yossi. So is it so important to know that halacha that it's a marriage? Or by a get, he gave a get without saying I raise a gitech. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not good. He didn't say I raise a gitech. According to Rabbi Yossi, it is good. So you have to know that it's a get. If you don't know, don't get involved.
You'd have to know what it means to be SB. You'd have to know the whole gamut. You know pretty much the whole.
But the Gemara is not asking you. The Gemara is not asking if you have to know the other laws. The Gemara is asking you have to know this law. The other laws you have to know. You have to. That's not the issue. The issue is you have to know this. If you have to. You got a 99 on the test. Everything else you got. The question you were asking, he got it right. But this one he got wrong. Is that a problem? So the Gemara says yes, it's a problem. Even if it doesn't show on the other things. The other ones he knew. That's not the issue. But he didn't know this one. No. Amulay elachanami. Meaning? Yes. What does it sensibly mean? No, he says no. He says yes. Yes. No. If he doesn't know this law, he should not get involved in giving. So on the test, they should put this on the smicha test for getting a kiddushin. They should put this question. He has to get 100 on the test. No, even this one. But what's the matter? Has to get 100. If someone doesn't get 100, it doesn't pass.
Knowing this has
Yes, to know even this. Yes, to know even this. Even this.
I'm saying that this is the clincher. You can get everything else, 98%. But the 2% for this last one.
Yes.
Right, you can miss a lot of things.
No, maybe I can say that. Yes, he comes to the teacher at the end of the guy. He got no smith. So he said, "What's wrong? What I got 99." I said, "No." He said, "No, you didn't get this Allah for me." So he said, "When is that happen? When is it going to happen that it makes enough community? I can't be a Masonic kiddushin because I don't know this halacha." So he says, "No, you don't know this halacha. You can't Masonic kiddushin." I don't know. It seems you have to get 100 on the test. And any kind of smicha test, you have to get 100.
No, I know.
Yisrael. But that's Moshe Yisrael. What do you mean? And the Rabbanan. So what do you mean? No, he didn't. He married her, and he doesn't think. And then she goes off and say they think they're not married, and she marries somebody else. You just can't say I do everything according to the laws. You don't do everything. You have to know the laws in order to do that. Okay. The Chaim for Gerushin, this is according to Shmuel. We had that yesterday. This was yesterday's Gemara. Gerushin also the same issues that some Lashonas are good, some are not good. So this is saying the case that it's good. Lasam Agita, Vamala Ariat Meshulachas, or Ariat Mugureshes, or Ariat Muteres, the Haladam, Ariat Mugureshes. That is, all these Lashonas are good. Yesterday Shmuel continued saying that some are not good. I'm not your husband. That's not a good lashon. I'm not any ishech, any baalech. All those are not good. But this is lashons that are good. And again, we said according to Rav Yossi, you don't say anything. But if he said one of the things a lashon that's not good, then he messed it up. So the Gemara says we had this Gemara. Get in about the next 20 lines. This Chazara we had it not so long ago. Pshita nasam magita v'amodalo ishto. What's ishto? Aviat baschorin. He gave the get, and he didn't say that you are mutter. He said that you are free. You are a free woman now. So that's not a way of divorcing because she was free before that also. That's not a way to divorce. He has to say that you're mutter to marry others. And the opposite. Also, he told the shifcha that you are hereby married, mutter to marry everybody. That's not a way to liberate a maidservant. He has to say that you are free. To say that she's mutter to marry, even though Rashi pointed out over there that it is true that a shifcha is not allowed to marry. And now that you're saying you're allowed to marry, maybe he means to say that you're hereby free and therefore you can marry. But it doesn't. He didn't say it. He just said you wanted to marry. That doesn't make her free. He didn't free her. So those are pshita. Those don't need explanation. That's simple. But the question is the following: that term. You are for yourself. You're for yourself. Is that a good way of making her divorce? Is that a good term of divorce? Now, what's the question? Does it just mean that you're on your own for work? Means that really your earnings come to me, so I'm freeing you of that. You're on your own, you could keep your own earnings. Or does it mean that you're on your own completely and it means to divorce her? L'chora can be either one. Even if it says in the get one way, but if he says Ariat Latzmech, so maybe it would mess it up. Maybe because he messed it up. That we had that the Lashonos mess it up if he says the wrong term. I think. And the question also the Chorah could be in the get also. This is the term that he wrote in the get. Tashma, the Tanya, Gufa shall get Shechwa Ariat ben Chorin, Ariat La'atzmech, Atal La'atzmecha. So it says a Mishnah in Gittin that says that the essence of the get Shechwa is, of the document of liberation says, you are hereby a free man, or you are hereby on your own, to yourself. So you see that's a good way of liberating a slave. I think I was going to say, if it's good for liberating a slave, then it's also good enough for liberating, for divorcing a wife. Different before we said before that some terms only mean liberation and it doesn't mean divorce. Not necessarily just because it means liberation doesn't mean divorce. But here the Gemara is going to say that this word being on your own, if it means liberation, it surely means divorce. And every Kanani, Imam owns him. He owns him like an animal. He owns him. He owns the body of the Eved. And he concludes that he has to work for him, and includes that he's asked to marry a Schorin. And when he says Ariat Latzmacha, we don't say that he just meant to say that your work belongs to yourself. He meant to say that you belong to yourself completely. So if an Eved who he owns completely, when he tells you you are on your own, so he means completely, not only for work. Isha, the lo kanei lagufa, lo coach game. So a woman that he doesn't own the body, he just owns the Isser, so to speak. This says she can't marry. And so when he also the earnings go to him also. So surely when he meant to say Ariat Latzmech, surely it includes everything, and she's allowed to marry out. That's a lotion of divorce. Period. End of that sugya. New sugya. Also we had it in Gittin. What if he told his Eved, I have nothing to do with you? Is that a term of liberation? They mean to liberate him by saying. Oh, it says it in the Shtam. That's what it says in the Shtam. Make it like. Yeah, all these things mean that you need a Shtam. Is that a good term of liberating a slave? Doesn't mean completely, which means that I have nothing to do with you and you're free. Maybe he only meant to free him from work. Have nothing to do with your work, but he does still own him. And as far as marrying a Baschor, he still would be Yosef. That was Ravina's question. Amalei Rav Nachman Rav Ashi. So Rav Ashi didn't answer, but Rav Nachman answered to Rav Ashi. Rav Chanan Mechazar said to Rav Ashi, Tashma, that Rav Sheshes said yes. The rice not going to be from Mishnah, from a rice. It's going to be from Rav Sheshes. It says Amocha Avdol Goy, Yosel Lecheirus. But Tzarek Shechem Rabbi Rishon. If somebody sells his ever to a Goy, so that one made a knas that he has to redeem him. He has to redeem him back, and he goes free. So, because why? Because he took him away from mitzvahs. Mafkia is Mafkia from mitzvahs. Maybe there's another reason over there. I forgot. But there's a knas for somebody who sold his Eved, even to a Jew. He sold him to a Jew in Eretz Yisrael. He sold him to Chos La'aretz, then he goes free, even if he sold him to a Jew. But if he sold him to a Goy, even in Eretz Yisrael, he also goes free. But he still needs to get shechur from his original master, because when the original master, the Jew, sold him to the Goy, so he doesn't have the power to sell him the Isser. The Jew sells to a Jew, so then everything goes over to the buyer, and now the second one is going to be the one who's going to give him a get shechur if he wants to free him. But if he sell to a Goy, the Goy only bought the work. He wasn't able to sell him the actual essence of the Goy, of the Eved. So now that he's forced to, he goes free, and the first original master has to redeem him. But he also has to free him and give him a get shechur in order to allow him to marry a Bas Yisrael. This only you have to write a get shechur now if he didn't give him a ono, whatever that means, a shtar, originally when he sold him. But if he did that, that's already considered a shechur completely, and therefore he doesn't have to give him a get shechur now. What does that mean? What's ono? Ekadami ono. What is that? So I don't know. I'm Rav Sheshes, the cause of lake. When he sold him to the Goy, he already gave a shtar to the Eved that said, "But if you're ever able to escape from the Goy that I'm selling you to, I have nothing to do with you." Eni Esekbach. So Rav Sheshes used the words Eni Esekbach. So there must be something doing in this. I don't understand it, but Rav Sheshes didn't just throw in a lashon that's a chiddush for no reason. And why? And there's no chiddush if you gave a get shechur yesterday, today. There must be something in this thing about Eni Esekbach. But anyway, Rav Sheshes said openly that Eni Esekbach is a good way to free him. If a master says to an Eved, Eni Esekbach, it's a way of freeing him completely, and he's allowed to marry a Shifcha, a Baschorin. It isn't only releasing him from the responsibility of work. It means that he's completely free. But the raya is only from Rav Sheshes. That's the raya. Rav Sheshes said so. So you're reading right from Rav Sheshes, which is very strange. Probably Rav Sheshes saw it in the words of Rav Shimon Gamliel, but it says that it is good. Eni Esekbach is a good term to free a slave.
What's the ono? Did you get any?
It means some kind of a shtar. Oh no, it's a shtar. On is a shtar. I don't know where it comes from. I think it has in other places also. In our context, it does mean a get shechur, but we gave him a get shechur before. When he was selling him to the guy, the master gave him already a get shechur. If you ever succeed in getting out of the guy that I'm selling you to, I'm not allowed to sell you to a guy. But if you ever escape from him, so you're hereby free. Or not hereby, you're going to be free. What? Why? He didn't say the word in the Ezek. What does ono mean? You see in the word ono that I mean, what if Sheshes would have said, then it wouldn't have fitted into Rav Shimon Gamliel. You're probably right, but I don't get it. That also Rav Shimon Gamliel, what's he saying? If you gave me a get shechur yesterday, it doesn't need a get shechur today. Is that any chiddush? The Tanakh argues on that. Like, what's happening? It must be that there's some kind of a release of Eni Esekbach, and it's probably true. You do say Rav Shimon Gamliel, but I don't see that Rav Shimon Gamliel. I don't see it.
No.
That's, everyone knows that's what ono is. Everyone knows that's what it is. Okay, if that's a given. Okay, Eni Esekbach is a good way to free a slave. New sugya altogether. Mamash new sugya. It's a quite famous sugya. Very interesting. If somebody is mekadesh a woman with a loan, which would mean, I think it says that's what it's going to mean, that the woman owes him money. He lent $100 to a woman, and then he tells the woman, "You owe me $100. It should be for kiddushin. You are hereby married to me with the money that you owe me." What do you say? You have to pay back. You don't have to pay back. So it means the money that you owe me, I'll take, is the money of the kiddushin. You owe me $1. I said $100 even.
That's fine, but it's Shabbos.
It's $100. Okay, let's throw $1. He lent her $1. Then he says, comes back after a couple of days. You don't have to pay me the $1. You don't have to pay me the $1, and that should be the money. That should be the, instead of giving you $1, the $1 that you owe me is the kesef kiddushin. So it's no good. Ain't no kedushin. Why? Which he gave it. He gave it to her. He gave it to her. He gave it to her last week. He gave her last week. He gave her money. Okay. I can say Rashi says, what is that? Rashi says a little stronger, I think, that it's not his money. It's not his money. It's not his money. She owes him money, but the money that she has in her pocketbook is not his. When you lend money, it belongs to the recipient, to the lover, and now it's not my money. So she owes him money. So he's saying, I'm marrying you with the money that you owe me. It's not his money. So
It's not the same as that you had a star code.
yes.
And you said, okay, star code, I'm gonna marry you with the star code, not the money.
Shtarchov, he's saying a case where I'm going to owe you money. Here, she owes him money. She owes him money, and he's saying it's okay. Don't pay me back. So that's not his money. So it's not his money. So that's the Chol Abaye said. That's because it's not his money. She's not giving back the money that she got from me. That money is hers. And even if she gives back the same coin, it doesn't make a difference. That's her money. And until she gives it back to him, it's not his. So she's not married. She's not married because he didn't give her anything. It could be the other reasons everybody's saying is also true. But Rashi says that it's not his money. If he doesn't marry her with the loan, he marries her with the benefit of the loan, then it is a good kiddushin. What does that mean? What does it mean, the benefit of the loan? We'll see in a couple of lines. But Abai says, but you're not allowed to do that because it looks a little bit like ribbis. A ramas ribbis, a loophole of ribbis that it looks like ribbis. That's what it sounds like. A ramas ribbis, it sounds like a loophole of ribbis. So the mothers know what I mean. What does it mean for the benefit of the milva? What does it mean to say with the benefit of the milva, of the loan? Maybe he lent her. I think Asparas means that he lent her. And he told Askifa, I think it's just a loan. They find this term other places that he lent her money. And I'm not happy with the translation I'm saying, but I think that's the translation. If someone has better, please tell me. That he told her 4 for 5. That he told her, I'm lending you $4. You have to pay me back 5, which is ribbis. And you owe me 5. And then he comes back and says, the 5th one you don't have to pay me. That should be the kiddushin. That's called hanos milva. That the benefit that I got out of the milva, which would mean that the gain that I get, the gain. Yeah, that's more skasha. More skasha. Ribbis ma'alisa. That's a more skasha now. It's not only a rabbis ribbis, right? That if he shouldn't have done it because it's ribbis. But if he did it, oh, very nice. Rashi said before. And it's the 5th, yes, his. That's what he'd say. Yeah. The 5th is his. The 5th surely is not his. She owes. If anything, she owes it to him, but it's not his. So the Yaakov's asking that the Gemara doesn't make sense. The Gemara's going to ask the Gemara's going to say that. That doesn't make sense. Not that the Gemara doesn't make sense. The Gemara is saying this possibility. It wouldn't make sense because of Levi Yaakov's kasha. That first of all, a ribbis mali saying it's not only called a Romash ribbis, it's mamash ribbis. If the case was that he lent her $4 and he just pay him back 5, that's ribbis. That's not only a Romash ribbis. And also, why you think that it's good? That's a good mekudeshes. Road, I know milba. It's the same case as before. How can we say milba is not good? Because it's not his money. It's her money. She owes it to him. So it doesn't say that you don't have to pay me back. It's not. So the 5th one also. Yes. Right. So that's how can she say it now? That's kiddushin. It also doesn't belong to him. The case that Abaye meant hanos milva is not the case of 4 for 5. It means that he gave her an extension of the loan. She had a loan that she owes it. She owes it. She has to pay back in 30 days. And then he says you could keep it for another 30 days. Whatever the case is, he made an extension. He made an extension for the loan. You don't have to pay me back on time. I'm going to extend the time that the deadline is further. So then it is good kiddushin. Why is it good kiddushin? Why is it rivers? On the extension.
On the extension, on the use the money for longer. You know, the extension is how we be able to use the money for longer. It's
Right. So, and the truth is, any loan is like that. That there's a value to get a loan. There's a value, and there's a value to get an extension. And the question is, why is it not rivers? Means, what is he saying? How much is it worth to have an extension? Means put a price tag on it. $1,000 to have it for another week, for another month. It's worth money. It's worth money to have an extension on the loan. People will pay money for it. So he's being Makadasher with the value of the extension, not with the money that I gave you that you don't know. Right. Right. Making an extension, and
so it has to.
and she
And
owes
now, marry you
with the extension. Okay. And that's worth money. So that's why it's good. Right. That's why it's good kiddushin. So the question is, why is it not rivers? Means one question we answer. One question, why it's better than the milva, because here it is her money. The case of that's his money. Why the case of the milva is her money. So that's why it's not good. But here the value of the extension is worth money, so it's his. He can't ask her for money of the value of the extension. You can't ask her for it because it's rivers. So Rashi asked the kasha, why is it not rivers?
You know what? You want it for another month? Then you know $10. That's us.
That's the question. So Rashi, I'm not sure. Rashi talks about it. They didn't get it clear. Rashi talks about it. Put it on the screen, but it's not on the screen. He told her, marry me with the benefit you're getting, that you would pay somebody to somebody. That's why you do it. You pay somebody to convince me to extend the loan. So if I say li, what's li mean? Or that you would, Rashi seems to say, if you give me a pruta for extending. So by giving, how much you'd give me a pruta in order to have an extension. Is that not called rivers? So Rashi says, I feel aganata lo dami klal. It's not considered money. Aga means a payment for nata. Aganata means the payment for waiting. It's every loan. Why do you pay rivers for? The chorus aganata. Aganata means the value, the payment for waiting, for payment for waiting. So Rashi says it's not considered aganata. So I don't know why. In Pirush, Rashi says it's only called the Ramas rivers. It's not rivers Gomor because lakos lamidi shokamina. He didn't make a set price, and he's not taking anything from her. I don't know. Why is it not called rivers mamish? Rashi says this case is only Rabbis rivers, and Rashi says that not only this little kasha. Why does the Gemara talk about the extension? It could have talked about the milva also. If someone would say, "I'll get a loan for you. My service charge is $10. I'll get a loan for you." Not only the extension. We talked about getting a loan for you for my service of getting the extension. That's a different question. The first different question. It's not the subject because you're talking about the time. You're not talking about the loan. You're talking about the loan. That could be much more mutter. But here the question is that the money that it costs to get a loan. So Rashi seems to say that if it's money for the loan, no. But it's money to get the loan. It's the money to pay somebody for a service of convincing somebody to give a loan, then you are allowed to give it. Which to me is very I don't know these halachas. That is not called rivers. It's a rubbish rivers. Yeah, that's not called rivers. I'll get you a loan. Yeah, I'll get you a loan. I'll get you an extension. Rashi says another interesting thing that the Gemara said a milva is not good. It means you owe me money. You owe me $5. I'm a kaddish you with $5 that you owe me. That's not good because it's not his. What if he says I'm a kaddish you with the benefit that I'm going to forego? I'll forego the loan. Not with the money that you owe me. I'm kaddish. Rashi said these words. It's kachli banos mechilazu. How much is it worth to you that I should forego the loan? Whatever money that's worth, so I'm giving it to you. I'll give you. So if I makadesh you with the money that you owe me, that's not good because it's not my money. But if you makadesh you with the money that you're willing to give, that I should forego the loan, that would be good. That's called anos milva. One more again. Anos milva. How did the Abaye say? I'm a kaddish. The milva is not good. I'm talking about anos milva. The money you would pay for an extension, the money you would pay for going the milva. I would add on the money you would get in order to get a loan. All these things, it's not the loan, so it's okay. Maybe sometimes it's a problem of a ramas ribis, but as far as the kiddushin is good because it's money. It's not her money. The amount that okay, good. One more Gemara. Amarava. Hey lach mana almanashet asireuli. That's a matana manas lachse. Famous Gemara. Matana manas lachse. So he wants to know matana manas lachse by kiddushin that he'll give her a pruta, but you have to give it back to me. I'll give it to you on the condition you give it back to me. Here is $100 on the condition that you give it back to me, which we call a matana manas lachse. So he's going to say one of them is going to be kiddushin. The mecher lo kana. The isha ena mukadeshes. The pidyon ben ena padim. The truma yotze lemat nesina. So he says 4 halachas. 3 of them are not good. 1 of them is good. Mecher means a sale. He made a sale with a kinyan kesef, but the kinyan kesef you have to give back to me. Or by a woman, he gave her the money. So he gave her the ring, but you have to give it back to me. Or pidyon ben, he gave it to the Kohen, that you have to give it back to me. So all these 3 cases is not good. By mecher, it's not a sale. By woman, it's not kiddushin. By pidyon ben, it's not considered pidyon ben. But the truma yaseh denisina, that the Kohen, you have to give truma to the Kohen. So he gives it to the Kohen, but he says on the condition you give it back to me. Is that considered that he gave it to the Kohen? He says yes. It is considered that he gave it to the Kohen, but don't do it. Don't do it because it looks like a Kohen who is helping in the silo. So that's halacha that the Kohen is not allowed to do services by the silo because the owner, the Balasadeh, is going to give him truma in gratitude for his help, and he's taking away from other Kohanim that are. So here, if there's going to be a Kohen that's willing to take truma and give it back, he'll give him other truma. So therefore, don't do it. But technically, it's good because you gave it to the Kohen. And the Gemara doesn't understand. You have 4 cases, 3 of them are no good, 1 of them is good. What's the difference? My kasava Rabba. What did Rabba hold about the matana manas lachse? Ikasava matana manas lachse shma matana afilu kulanami. If it's considered you gave it, everything should be good. By the kiddushin also should be good. He gave her a shavapruta. She has to give it back to him. So pidyon ben mecher, everything should be considered he gave it. Ikasava lo shma matana. If it's not considered that he gave, then afilu truma namilo. It shouldn't be with it to give. It shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be considered that he gave it to the Kohen if he has to get it back. So manavsha. But then also, you know what Rabba holds. We do know Rabba other places holds Meferish that is considered matana. So it's not only a manavsha question. It means everything should be good because we know the Rabba holds that is good. And this is the famous case of matana manas lachse. Rabba. This is the esrog. The first day of Sukkot, you have to have your own esrog. That's the bishalachem. And if someone gave someone an esrog with as a matana, I'm not lending it to you. I'm giving it to you. But you have to give it back on the condition you give it back to me. So it says it's good. The talavach zero yotza. If he took it for mitzvah rule and he gave it back to him at the end, so he's yotza the mitzvah because he didn't fulfill the condition, so he never owned it. So you see that Rabbi holds the matana manach there is good. So how come it says here by kiddushin it's not good, by mecher it's not good, by pidyon ben it's not good? Elam Ravashi said that he was misquoted. Rabbi was misquoted. The real way to quote Rabbi is like this: the kulu kani, all of them are good. Because matana manas lachse is good. Not only truma, also ben mecher, also pidyon ben. Only isha is not good. The bar me isha. The bar means with exception. with the exception of Isha over there, even though also technically it's good. But Tanamanas Nachsa, what's the problem? He gave her kiddushin. So the Gemara said a couple of days ago, at the beginning of the Masechta, when it said Gimel, it said that Chalipin is not good. That if you gave a woman something, and in exchange you should be married to me. So Chalipin is not good. Over there, the Gemara said because Chalipin could be even less than a Sheva Pruta, and a woman is not willing to give herself up for less than a Sheva Pruta. And here too, she's not getting anything out of it because when he gives her a Sheva Pruta, $100, she didn't get anything out of it. So she's not willing to give herself in marriage if she didn't get anything out of it. That we have also such a Musar. Rabbi said that. Rabashi figured out what Rabbi must have meant, and then Rafuna Mar Breder of Nachman said that we have that version of Rabbi the way you said you got it right. That Matan Nas there is good by Esrog, by Mecher, by Binyan Aben, by Truma. Only by Isha is not good because she's not willing to give herself for less if she doesn't get any value out of it. Yashikar.